This class is part of the Vibin Wellness free online healing program. Skip this introduction, get twice as much class content, and follow along with carefully curated healing themes by joining the program at alwaysvibin.com. But for now, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and enjoy the class. Hello and welcome back to week 3 in October 2024. This is the Vibin Wellness free online healing program, and this month we've been working with exiting the rabbit hole of rumination. Today's class, we are going to be doing a shortened biodynamic breathwork and trauma release class. Now, on week 1, we did a somatic inquiry class where we used our story, and instead of letting it evolve into a ruminative experience, we learned how to use the story as like a catalyst or a foundation into our traumatic sensation in a way that's safe and helpful. Today with biodynamic breathwork and trauma release, we're going to continue to cultivate that relationship. And we'll get into that invitation in just a little bit. For today's breathwork class, we will be utilizing 3 different pillars. These are pillars of somatic healing in general. The first one is resource. At the beginning of the class, I'm going to help you tune into a resource for yourself. This could be a sensation in the body, a thought, a memory, an object in the room around you. A resource is just something that can help you come back to a feeling of safety or grounding or awareness and presence. Something that feels pleasant or at very least neutral. And this can be really helpful so that the nervous system interprets a container of safety so that we can successfully work with traumatic tension. Which brings me to the second pillar, which is pendulation. So as we go through this biodynamic breathwork trauma release session, just like a pendulum, we're going to be gently interacting with traumatic tension, traumatic sensation, traumatic memory in the body, and then we're going to pendulate back into that resource. Then we'll go back when we're ready and back into resource. And this is just such a beautiful way of training the nervous system that safety is always available. It also helps prevent us from getting overwhelmed by spending too much time with traumatic tension or sensation. Which takes me to the third pillar, which is titration. Now, titration is, very simply put, taking little bites at a time. So we're not going to be, Jocko's involved in the class today. We're not going to be taking on all of the traumatic tension at once. When we pendulate from resource to traumatic tension and experience, we want to take just little bites at a time. We're going to come and handle small bits that are accessible and safe for us to manage. And when we stay within these 3 pillars of somatic healing, we're really setting ourselves up for an effective practice, a safe practice, a trauma-informed and healing practice, which is really the goal here. As always, we want to always be mindful of any sensations of overwhelm. That means if you start to feel yourself spacing out, if you start to feel yourself feeling panicked, or maybe you're starting to see things, feel really tense for prolonged periods of time in your muscles, anything that's giving you the signal where this is too much, the invitation is to back off, to really listen to what's present for you, to pause and slow the breath. Just completely let go of the breathing pattern. You always have choice here. To look around your space if that's helpful, or give yourself some soothing touch like a hug. Sometimes a drink of cold water can be really helpful to reorient to the present space and time in safety as well. The breathing pattern for biodynamic breathwork and trauma release is what we call a conscious connected breath. So we're going to take an even inhale and an even exhale without pausing at the top or the bottom. So the breath kind of moves like a circle. You can take this breath in and out through the nose, in through the nose, out through the mouth, or in and out the mouth. I'm going to invite you to start everything in and out your nose because that's the least activating breath pattern. If you feel like you need more charge or are curious about the sensations of more charge, then you can take it in the nose, out the mouth, or in and out the mouth. Something else that also impacts the amount of charge coming from the breath is the speed of your breath, if you're moving quickly versus slowly. So you can still experiment whether it's in and out the nose or the mouth and just play with the pace, the cadence of your breath. So that will look something like this. Or if you're breathing through the mouth, your mouth's going to dry up. You're more than welcome to pause the video and grab yourself some water. That can help sustain you throughout the practice. Let's begin by getting in a comfortable seated position. I'm going to invite you to stay seated if at all possible. Wherever you're seated, see if you can get to the edge of the seat so that you have the ability to move. We don't really want to lay down unless absolutely necessary for your comfort in your body, just because it's really easy to check out when you're laying down. It can be easy to fall asleep. You're sending a signal to your body that we're here to relax. Standing is also an option for you if that's more comfortable. If you ever feel yourself getting lightheaded, make sure you've had a gentle bend in your knees and that you are breathing out enough. Usually when we get that lightheaded sensation from breath work, it's because we're bringing in too much oxygen and we haven't been exhaling enough. So a full inhale and a full exhale. Once you've found yourself in a comfortable position, let's just tune into the intention of this particular practice. Now, rumination is by definition really an emergence or a falling into of the story and coming out of the body. It's a circular, trapped kind of sensation in the mind. And it is, in some ways, a dissociative experience. We're coming out of the here and now and going back in time. Sometimes we ruminate about the future too. We're having this imaginative inquiry, like what would my life have been like if things were different? Either way, we're bringing all of the awareness out of the present and out of the experience of the body and bringing it up into our heads, into this narrative, the story. So for this practice, the invitation is to use the story, if and when it arises, to come back into the sensations of the body. Now, what do I mean by that? When we breathe in BBTRS, that conscious connected breath, it works by activating. It brings up some charge, but we're doing it in a safe container. And when we build up the charge in our bodies, we're highlighting the traumatic imprints in the body, these sensations that are the body memory of what happened. These are the things that we need to be paying attention to. So you might get that pressure on the chest or the twist in the stomach or some rigidity in the shoulders and the back, or maybe even some sensations of motion or temperature change, a flush of heat or cold, shivering sensation. These are the things we want to pendulate with. However, if we've spent a lot of time in rumination, we've learned to quickly bypass curiosity of the sensation and quickly enter into the story of that sensation, particularly if you've done top-down trauma work before. So you get that twist in the stomach, for example. And rather than staying curious with the twist in the stomach, you may find yourself flashing back into memory associated with the twist in the stomach. Maybe a time that you felt nervous or frightened or alone. And then we stay with the memory of, oh, yep, I remember that. This person was there. I didn't like that. And you just stay with the memory, with the story. For this practice, the invitation is when that happens, if that happens, it may not happen. But if the story emerges from the sensation, notice it. Just notice it for a moment. Yep, I remember that. Okay. And let it lead you back to the sensation. Yeah, that did happen. Thanks for reminding me. I'm going to feel into what that means for me now. And right now, that feels like pressure in my chest. It feels like there's something around me pushing me inward. Or maybe it feels like a buzzing sensation. I'm going to be curious about this sensation. So we're not going to say, avoid the story at all costs. You notice it. You can even express gratitude for it or some other kind of acknowledgement that feels appropriate for you. But we're training ourselves to use the story in a way that brings us back into the sensation so that we can work with asking that sensation, I see you. Okay, I'm with this now. Now what do I need to do? What does this sensation want me to do? Is it moving? Is it slowing down? Is it offering myself some touch? Is it expression? All of these things are options for you. So that's the invitation. Acknowledging story if and when it arises and using it to come back into sensation. Typically, a BBTRS session includes about 45 minutes of breathing. We're going to do quite a bit less since this is intended to be an accessible program. I'm not there with you or live, so I really want you to take this slowly, and we're going to take a titrated session in this particular program. So we will be doing about 20 minutes of breathing. Another reminder that if you come into resistance, rather than saying, I'm done, this isn't the practice for me, let's play with pendulating and just coming back to resource. So you let go of the breathing pattern, but you're staying in the practice, because part of the practice here is not just breathing hard for 20 minutes. The practice here is staying in tune with the felt sensations. So if you've gotten out of your comfortable, aware position, go ahead and get back in that position, whether that's seated or standing. And let's just take a few breaths in this moment. If your eyes closed feels better, you can always close your eyes. And if it feels safer for them to be open, I invite you to keep them open. Maybe just taking a soft gaze. And let's just start by noticing that you have a body with some self-touch. You can use your hands and touch any part of your body that feels nice to touch. Maybe that just means holding your hands. Or maybe you want to explore other parts of your body. Let's just take time here. A more generous breath might be helpful. Slowness is so helpful in trauma recovery. So there will always be an invitation to slow down. While you're exploring your body, maybe just go a little slower. It's your choice. You always have choice. Great. Now let's move the head. Maybe it wants to move side to side or in circles. A nod could be helpful. Maybe some stillness, just a stretch. Let's take another minute to explore the mobility in the neck. Even if it's limited mobility, that's okay. We have a natural instinct to orient to our surroundings using this beautifully flexible neck. And in this moment, we're taking that instinct to see that we are in safety, that we can move. Beautiful. Now, whether you're in stillness or still with a little motion, just go where you need to be. And in this moment, let's tune in to the body. See if you can find a place inside of your body that feels pleasant. Maybe that's the touch of your hands, or the strength in your thighs. Maybe it's just something that doesn't hurt right now. If this isn't accessible for you, maybe you're in a lot of pain or it's really hard to connect with your sensations, and that's okay too. If that's you, we're going to look for an external resource. See if there's something in the room around you that brings a sense of safety and calm. Maybe there's an object you can look at or hold. Another option is to bring to mind something you hope for, or a memory that you have that was pleasant, or a person that may not be with you right now but is very supportive and loving. So with all those options, let's just take a minute or so and connect with this resource. Noticing what it is about this thing or this feeling or this thought that makes you feel safe, grounded, calm, whatever it is that's helpful for you. Really tuning in to the experience of having this resource. And if you haven't already, noticing what sensations are available to you as you give your attention to this resource. If it's a bodily sensation as your resource, really naming what sensations you're feeling. If it's an external resource, it will still register as bodily sensations as you feel that sense of calm, grounded connectedness. Notice, what is it in explicit detail that I can feel? It may feel warm in the chest or wherever it is. Maybe it feels warm. Maybe it feels heavy in a good way, stabilizing. Maybe it feels tingly or flowing, soft. Maybe there's a color with it. This is a great time to explore your vocabulary for sensation and see what you can offer, what you can assign to this resource as sensation. Beautiful. Now, keeping your attention on the resource, we're not stepping away from resource yet, but we're going to bring in that conscious connected breathing pattern, beginning in and out the nose if that's possible. Breathing in, breathing out, starting slow. Removing any pause on the top or the bottom. And we're going to stay with this breath for a couple minutes for this first round. Still keeping most of your attention on that resource as you breathe in and out. Remember, you have full choice and control over the pace of your breath. And moving slower can be more effective when we're trying to stay connected with these sensations. You may have noticed that your breath comes naturally with movement. When we inhale, the diaphragm drops, the chest tends to want to open, and the shoulders want to come back. We kind of stick our tails out as the pelvis tips forward. And when we exhale, we have more of a curve, a dome in the back. The diaphragm lifts, the shoulders come forward, and the tail tucks under. For you, this motion might be really small at first, and that's okay. Wherever you can feel this motion, this natural motion of breath, the invitation is to really move into that and see if you can expand your ability to move. The inhale opens the body, and the exhale brings it forward. This is our body's natural way of undulating. It's an unwinding motion that helps relax our tissues, open up our fascia, really let things move. It frustrates that tendency for tension that trauma leaves us stuck in. And it really creates this fluidity that lets us tolerate more sensation, become more curious, and feel more safe. We're still breathing in that conscious, connected way, as long as it's serving you. Full inhale, full exhale. At this moment, you may have already noticed some of those traumatic imprint sensations arising. Maybe there are some sensations that are feeling more charged. They might be uncomfortable or really intense. Maybe they're lighting up brighter than the rest. If you're able to, stay with those sensations and change anything you need to do in order to stay with those sensations. So that might be slowing the breath a little bit. It might be moving more. It might be making some vocalization. Notice what charge feels like in your body for just a few more moments. Good. Let's slow the breath. You can let any motion continue to happen if it's helping. And let's extend the exhale. So we're letting go of the breathing pattern. Maybe letting out a long sigh or a moan on the exhale. But we're staying connected to the sensation of the body. This is the time that we're pendulating back to resource. And I'll ask you here to ask yourself, what do I need to resource now? To stay with the sensations that are present. See if you can offer that to yourself. For me, that looks like a hug right now. For you, it could be something completely different. Doesn't need to look any sort of way. Tuning into the part of you that is resourced. That sensation that you found at the beginning of our session that felt pleasant. Or the thought, or the item in your room. Really connecting to what brings your nervous system to a sense of safety. As we've been here for just a few moments, you might notice that the sensations that you discovered in your activation, those trauma sensations, they might still be here, and that's okay. We don't come into resource to eliminate anything. It actually helps us hold more, tolerate more. It also has the capacity to change those sensations. So now, while you're still holding that resource in your awareness, I'd like you to see if you're still able to notice the traumatic sensations, those places of charge, and if they are the same, if they're different, if something new has arisen, or something's completely disappeared. Just get curious. Staying with that neutral breath. Now you have choice to stay here with this resource, or you're welcome to join me in a second round of activating breath. If a second round of activation feels right for you, you'll go ahead and move slowly back into that conscious connected breathing pattern. A full inhale and a full exhale. Good. You might use the same pattern this round as you did the first one. Maybe you're taking it in a different direction, looking for a little more charge in through the nose and out through the mouth, or both in and out the mouth. This is your choice. And feel free to explore your choice. You can always change your mind and back off if you feel like you need to slow down. Tuning into those sensations. And if story arises with the sensations, acknowledging it, and then coming back to the sensation of the story. What does it feel like in my body right now to be with this place of tension or activation or charge? Am I safe to be curious about what's happening? What's changing? Now asking that part of you, the place of activation, what do you need in this moment? Some ideas for you. Maybe movement. How can I move in a way that gives this part of me, this activated part of me, the ability to relax and unwind? Or perhaps this part of me needs to say something, needs to express. Maybe some shaking needs to happen, yelling, tightness of the body, and then relaxation. I'm going to give you a couple minutes here to explore and be playful with what do I need to let this place soften. Staying with that conscious connected breath. Still full inhale and full exhale. You're doing great. Let's take one more minute to explore your needs and see if you can offer it to yourself, whatever that is. Great job. If you've been in activation, let's see if we can slow down the breath. Doesn't need to be an abrupt halt. Just slow the pace and extend the exhale. A sigh on the exhale can be really helpful for softening for some of you. And if you're moving, slowing down the movement. We're heading back into that place of resource. Tune in to those sensations that help you feel grounded. Help you feel safe or loved, at peace, bringing all of your awareness to the resources available to you. And entering into a period of integration. We'll only be integrating together for a couple minutes, but please feel free to stay in integration as long as you need to. This is not something to be skipped. It is a very important part of breath work and all of our sessions together. So you can remain seated if that feels comfortable. The invitation is to find a spot lying down if that's possible for you, that's comfortable. Grab yourself pillows, blankets, whatever you need to just completely let go of any focus. Just letting yourself kind of stew in what just happened. If it feels nice to connect with your breath, you can, or the ground. But the intention here is really to just soften. This might look like stillness for you. It might look like some soft and slow movement. Eyes can be closed or open, whatever feels the most integrating for you. If you're ready to come out of integration, I invite you to keep the eyes closed if they are closed, and start by tuning in with your other senses, noticing what you can hear in the space around you. Notice what you can feel on your skin, different temperatures or pressure. And taking a generous breath. And in your own time, fluttering the eyes open and finding movement in the body. If you're lying down, please don't rush to sit up. Looking around at the room first can be really stabilizing. Just noticing the different objects available to you, or looking at your body and feeling into those sensations. Being very kind and compassionate to yourself, slowly coming up whenever you're ready. And for the next little bit, for the next day or so, just being really gentle with yourself, getting lots of water, lots of good rest, and just taking things a little slower, as breath work can sometimes bring up some things that are unexpected.